Good morning. I have some word in Romanian, so Domnilor și domnilor, dragi colegi. No Romanian in the room? I'm sorry. Give people a francophone to see the France. So I'm a francophone, so I will be maybe a little bit rusty with my English less, but I will try to do my best to do my presentation. So my presentation will talk about many things, about maybe from a perspective, a city perspective. And I'm an urban planner, as you maybe noticed. I worked during 30 years at the city of Montreal as a city planner, mostly in charge of the development of the underground city. So dealing with the developer, with the city council to maybe go beyond and try to develop the underground city. I was always been involved. I'm sorry, I have to move my slides. So also, where? Maybe it's the wrong direction. Yeah. Okay. I've been working since maybe I would say 1997 with HACUS. HACUS is an organization I will talk later about the urban underground space. So we decide to formalize that association. I will talk later. So the underground has been a big part of my life as a city planner, of course, but also on a broader point of view. So what is HACUS? Let's start with HACUS. HACUS is the acronym of the Associated Research Centers for the Urban Underground Space. But it's a non-governmental association, incorporated in Canada. We incorporated in 1996, but in reality HACUS started its activities in Australia in 1983 with the first conference. At that time, it was very popular to talk about the earth shelter building. So we start there, and we evolved gradually, and we are now a kind of think tank for the world of city planner, of course, but architect, engineers, lawyers, builders, and a lot of scholars and academics who are feeding our reflection about the underground space. We have also some cities, and we would like to have more of those kind of other partners in the development of the underground space. We aim at sharing with them the question of why to, where to, when to, as well as what is the impact of, instead of only focusing on how to. So when it's time to develop the underground. So HACUS is the kind of organization, that think tank. We are independent, not sponsored by the industry, and only by our members. Briefly, our service to our members, I do some publicity about HACUS, but so I will continue later about the underground. So we have BNL conference. We have a website with a member section. All our past proceedings are accessible freely to our members. We have daily news on Scoopit. If you go on that with that address on the website, you will see each day you have news from all over the world about projects in the underground. We have a LinkedIn group, a weekly e-newsletter, and we have some interesting projects. We have firstly an underground atlas on the web, and with your cell phone you can to populate the database. It's done with the National Technical University of Athens. We are working on a multi-language lexicon with the SMEDI. The SMEDI is an agency of the city of Shanghai in China. So to be a multi-language, all the people involved in the underground member of HACUS are participating to that multi-language lexicon. And we have a memorandum with some organization like the Association of Underground Builders, ITA, International Tunneling Association, recently. So it's our kind of activities. We have a membership. We started membership after the incorporation, in fact, in 1998. And we start from 6 institutional members, and now last year we had 25 institutional members. Some are counting many hundreds of members, and we are in 15 countries right now. In Europe, we have France, members in France, Greece, Italy, Russia, Serbia, and Sweden. And maybe very soon Finland, because one of our next conference will be after Hong Kong will be in Finland. Our last conference was in St. Petersburg last September. It was organized by the Russian Association of Underground Builders. We celebrate at the same time our 20th anniversary of incorporation. So during the 4 days we had 600 participants from 34 countries. 120 papers have been presented during parallel sessions. One of the main output of that conference, what is amazing, is the instruction from the governor of St. Petersburg to prepare a cooperation agreement with ACUS. So we will work with the City Committee for Transportation Infrastructure Development to try to improve the knowledge and try to add to the help the city, the planners of the city to better develop the city from a transportation point of view mostly. So the coming conference will be in Hong Kong. This will be a very interesting one. Please put that date in your agenda, and you are welcome to submit a paper. This will be very interesting because Hong Kong, as Diarmaid said, maybe it will be there, so are developing a lot of projects in caverns, man-made caverns. So I think it will be amazing not only to go to the conference, but after that to visit also the facilities down there. So, okay, and Finland, but Helsinki will be the next conference after Hong Kong. The awareness of the underground space. I will go back to talk a little bit about how it came from the awareness of the underground space. Maybe you know, but today the most visited place in the world are not landmarks like Eiffel Towers or imposing like St. Peter of Rome. No, they are rather train and subway stations, in which pedestrian traffic is often 10 times higher than those World Heritage jewels. It is for this reason that countries and cities grant today more and more importance to these underground stations. But let's return at the end of the 19th century for an overview of the major milestones that led to that awareness. In fact, it started in the late 19th century with the first subway seen as a way to fight against unhealthy living conditions in cities. The earliest one was in London, the London Underground, opened in 1863, to solve the huge traffic problem London had at the time. Some cities decided after to build their own subway, in New York, Chicago, Budapest, Paris, and many others by following. Despite the technical difficulties and the problem of comfort for their user in tunnels, the metro had a great success. And at the same time, the unhealthy living condition in the industrial city slum in Europe and later in North America horrified social reformers. And bothered by those conditions in London, the planner, maybe some of you are knowing, Ebenezer Howard, came up in 1902 with a visionary and utopian plan called the Garden City, in which he envisioned a series of new towns in the countryside. He basically believed that big city would condemn. On his side, the French architect Eugène Hénard denounced for the first time the anarchic congestion of the underground space underneath streets and suggests burying the urban traffic, the fluids, the solid waste, and the transported goods in galleries with multiple floors. In 1930, the American father of suburbia, Frank Lloyd Wright, dreamed of replacing traditional cities with low-density housing linked by highways. He assumed that each family would own a car, almost the case. It was in that period also that will be shaped the birth of the underground urbanism. Inspired by in art, another French, Edouard Étudiant, will found in 1933 the Jacques. That studied coordination group for underground urbanism had the objective of doing the promotion of a better usage of underground space. Unfortunately, this option was firmly rejected by the other architect, Le Corbusier, Frank Lloyd Wright, as a solution to relieve congestion in cities. Hénard and Étudiant wanted instead a vertical segregation of the urban functions, an idea that will remain eccentric in Europe until the end of the 50s. It was quite different in North America, where had been built in San Francisco in 1941, the world's first underground parking structure under Union Square. 2 years before, the Rockefeller Center in New York opened its door. It was developed and financed by the billionaire John Rockefeller. The complex was the largest private building project ever undertaken in modern time. It was built over an extensive indoor concourse with shops, restaurants, and access was provided via the lobby, stairways, and elevator in 6 of the 19 buildings of the complex, surrounding a skating rink. A connection to the subway was provided. In Canada, the planner Vincent Ponté was a predominant figure in the underground urbanism. Ponté was working with the architect Guillaume Pay when he became involved in 1957 with the design of Place Ville-Marie in Montreal. Ponté envisioned a new concept for that city, which he called the multi-level interconnected city. He said that where we will concentrate the core function of a city into a tight, totally interrelated unit, doubling and tripling the use of this same parcel of precious downtown land by inserting several levels above and below ground. The Time magazine in 1970 will call him the multi-level man. Let's go back to Europe. Started in the mid-60s, the defense in Paris became a huge transportation hub and a mixed neighborhood with housing and commercial centers. The organization of the space is based on the strict segregation of land use with above a large slab for pedestrian traffic, while mass transit cars, delivery, and parking lots are located under the slab. The so-called urbanisme de dalle in French, or podium planning, means the total separation of pedestrian path and vehicular traffic by an artificial soil. In the 70s, this kind of urbanism was a little bit criticized by contemporary planners. Another landmark underground structures was built in the 60s, this time in Japan. Tokyo had, in the 50s, a lot of small commercial arcades located in basements, but not interconnected together or two subway stations. But it was the Yaizu shopping mall, just at the east side of Tokyo Station, for if you ever went to Japan, which paved the way in 1969 to similar malls all over Japan. With restaurants, cafes, shops, it remained one of the largest underground shopping galleries in the country. What is particular in all those malls? Privately owned, and they are usually located directly underneath streets. This had the consequence, an abscess, which is the absence of light coming inside the tunnels, and a long, straightforward corridor with shop along. So it's a model the Japanese are using because they are renting the public space completely to the private sector. The 70s saw the gradual arrival now of new national and international bodies regrouping mainly tunneler and engineer at the beginning. ITA came in 1974 with 19 countries. France had some, USA also, Japan, and finally we incorporate ACUS in 1996. And in 2008 we had the creation of ITACUS. We have Andrew here we'll talk later during the day. He was in charge of that committee. At a more global scale now, the underground space took a time to become a priority for international agencies. Let's go back in the 60s when the oil crisis, sprawling cities, public deficit shook the world. The Canadian activist Jane Jacob was against the segregation and uniformity of cities and argued that urban renewal did not respect the needs of most of these citizens. She paved the way to the concept of sustainable development, which appeared gradually in the 70s. The sustainable development concept was consecrated for the first time in 1987 by the Brompton report, Our Common Future. And the same year, in 1987, the ITA was granted the status of NGO by the United Nations Economic and Social Council. We should salute that recognition. On its side, the ACUS conferences emphasis in the 90s more and more on the urban underground space use and planning. And after the Rio Summit in 1992 with Agenda 21, Habitat 2 reaffirmed in 1996 the need for improving living conditions, but also by using mixed use and services at the local level. So based on those concepts, we were not too far from seeing the underground as a resource for cities, a non-renewable one. The notion of compact city also emerged for more creative reuse of existing building and for mixed-use build projects. If you can walk inside your city, supplemented by efficient and clean public transport, such as a subway, the compact city becomes a premises behind successful usage of the urban underground space. The year 2014 was great for ACUS because we signed with UN Habitat a memorandum to raise awareness of the sustainable development of underground space for urban development. We also joined the World Urban Campaign and were able to include the underground space as a driver of change in the document The City We Need to Prepare for Habitat last year. But I'm sorry, even if ITA and ACUS raise concerns about the sustainable use of the underground, the work of persuasion is not finished yet. And we will have to increase our base and to work with other organizations like your one to have a critical mass of experts, but also of politicians, of mayors, to definitely include the underground into the international organization priorities, including the major development bank. On our side, as city planners, and on all of those involved at the local government level, we need to prove that we can better plan that space, not only for tube and tunnels, but also for people. Here are some of the basic elements of my thinking as a municipal planner of the underground. Sorry. In my mind, there's two ways to plan the underground space of a city. The first is a dedicated master plan, like the PATH. The PATH is the indoor pedestrian network in Toronto. They have a similar one as in Montreal. That one was initiated in 2000 by the City Planning Department to improve the PATH. The PATH is the name of the network, to manage its growth and enhancement over the 25 to 30 years. The study was completed in 2012, but the City Council never adopted it, as it was a too long commitment for the politician, for them. Another good example of master plan is in Helsinki, who adopted in 2010 a dedicated master plan for its underground, aiming at preserving and using over the long term some designated publicly owned space for transport, civil defense, sport, parking, and many, many others. The second way is to prepare a master plan of the underground, but this time inside a city master plan or a district master plan. It was the case of the Montreal Underground City. I will talk about it longer in a few minutes. But both planning formulas are valid. But I'm preferring the second approach, at least for Montreal, for the following reasons. An underground pedestrian network is part of the city above. A city master plan is usually revised each 5 to 7 years, and the underground city plan will then be revised at the same time. And thirdly, but it's the most important, is that orientation included in the city master plan are usually translated into bylaws and various regulations, which is very useful for the underground, to orient the development of the underground. It's not they have to live together in symbiosis. I would like to highlight here maybe some problem associated with a too detailed master plan of the underground space, as well as a too long-term planning. Especially in China, they are all the big cities in China are preparing very detailed master plan of their underground, and I told them, be careful. What is the problem? You cannot, maybe it's different in China because it's not a privately driven real estate market, but a city cannot oblige a developer to invest on a particular site, even less down there. Also, a too detailed master plan takes away the flexibility to adapt the zoning to the real estate market over time. And finally, a too rigid and long-term master plan may prevent the city to give favorable conditions or incentives to help investors to develop in the underground, like and where the city wants. Of course, in the private land. The urban underground space has a large potential that can contribute significantly to the quality of life of their citizens, because it's also a place to meet people, exchange ideas, do business, shopping, study, or simply relax. So it's not only on the surface you can do that. Creating well-organized underground spaces and providing attractive experience for users are not so easy as it is for the city above. For that, the challenge is to find a good balance between function, economy, and beauty of those indoor spaces. Architecture plan and design not only the envelope of a building, but also the inside space of those buildings. They should also know better the pedestrian needs, what they like and don't like inside. The safety should be their priority number one, because without safety you can't attract people inside and keep them inside, especially in tunnels. It has a major influence on the user frequentation and obviously on business in case of commercial facilities. Pedestrians are different. They move at different speeds. They perceive the space differently. A pedestrian walking in a tunnel thinks at where he goes, at how he feels safe, at what he's hearing, as well as what type of floor surface he's walking. To understand that, the architect have to get themselves into the skin of the pedestrian, to be able to understand and break the corridor spheres of some users. But unfortunately, I saw too many architects coming at the city for their project who were not sensitive enough at the question of safety. Some were completely close to that because it could increase their cost. Also, to gain safety, some developers prefer to not be connected to a subway station, pleading that it will be easier to watch the crowds. It's a big mistake from my point of view, as they are preventing themselves to gain additional pedestrian traffic, and at the end to increase safety and their business volume. These are the two of the top planning principles from my point of view. Of course, that should be considered in underground space dedicated to welcome people. The first is to place the pedestrian, the downtown employees, the students, the elderly, women and handicapped persons at the center of your planning's efforts. Secondly, it's to keep the good balance between the three functions of a city, but also inside the underground space. Those three functions are the commerce, the transportation, and the social functions. In social functions, like example, like providing some indoor public places and street furniture. Unfortunately, for many cities, subway stations are only a transportation mode. But planning is not enough. We have to implement the plan. Cities need rules and regulations to guide the planning and the design effort. Amongst the various bylaws a city should adopt for the underground space are the ones related to the change of level with the escalator, the elevators, the ramp, etc. You have also rules for the minimal dimension of tunnels welcoming pedestrians, or fire protection, etc., etc. The list is very long, but often forgot are the rules for the opening and closing hours of corridors and tunnels, and against the hyper-accumulation of sign, media, and display disseminated along corridors and indoor spaces. I'm obliged to say that planning and rules are not enough. Even with a good design in the respect of standards, a successful indoor space needs also a good management and continuous supervision of rule respects. The objective here is to know who is responsible of what in the underground amongst the public and the private stakeholders. And the task of the city in that role is also to collect consistent data, manage archives, and provide an easy and free access to that data. But over that, a city has to ensure coordination amongst its own planners, engineers, architects, as well as the police and the fire department, the subway operator, and the public utilities companies. An often forgotten task is the regular supervision of those structures. It's not enough that the city inform and supervise contractors during underground works to ensure the integrity of public infrastructures. It is much more important to do that also after the construction over the years. We had a very bad experience of a slab crack and almost fall on the subway tube in Montreal a couple of years ago. And since that, the city has annually a report of the structural integrity of private construction to the owner, to be sure that they will take care of their own underground infrastructure. Let's look now at the Montreal Underground City rapidly and how we have dealt with those planning principle, rules, and management over the 55 years of underground city. The underground city is a 32 kilometers long indoor pedestrian network with tunnels under streets linking together buildings with 2 subway lines in CBD. You have the 2 subway lines, the green and the orange here. We gave a name to the network, réseau, it's a French translation of network. And we may find those maps everywhere inside, as well as on the street, on posts, at each entrance. The morphology of the network is like a net, where public corridors are passing through privately owned buildings' basements, crossing the street below. There are 3 main reasons why we have it. It's because our cold winter, we have a very severe winter, less and less, and a very hot summer. And because we have a subway, of course, without a subway and underground metro, it's quite difficult to have such a network. And we are very lucky to have a compact city center. It started in 1962, and the réseau was only financed by private developer, except, of course, our subway in 1966. It is open at the same hour than the subway, from 5:30 a.m. to 1:30 in the night, and its users are able to walk through the private corridors, even if the shops are closed. 65 buildings are linked together, like hotel, shopping mall, university, conference centers, public library, and an hospital. And most of the office towers are accessible from below. And 35% of all the shops in downtown are inside the underground city. And day to day, we have 500,000 persons walking in it. It's amazing. The idea behind the underground city came, I mentioned it, before by Vincent Ponte after the Place Ville-Marie opening in 1962. He prepared for developers around the Place Ville-Marie the first master plan of the underground in 1964, in close collaboration with the planning department of the city, of course. But imagine at that time, the city never had a planning department. They had one planner, that's all, that's it. So, but through time, of course, the city populated the planning department, and after that, the planning department prepared 2 other master plans with the network. The first was only a dedicated master plan in 1984, which served as a framework to approve private projects. But the last one, the second one, prepared in 2004, was this time built into the city master plan as a strategy to favor pedestrians inside instead of individual car in downtown. I will do my best to go fast. So some real estate project approved at that period. I was there. So that first one is amazing. It's Granada Cathedral, still on match. It is an underground shopping center with a 2-level parking built under an oak cathedral and the 2 streets on the side. And the church during the construction remained open to the public. It's open in 1990. We have 2 projects on that slide. The first is a recycling project of a former hotel with a 4-level shopping mall with office and residential on the top, units on the top, plus a direct link to the subway station. And work have allowed to add an underground cinema and a parking underneath the basements. The other one is the 1000 Légauchetière, donc opened in 1992. It's still the highest building in the city, and have what is interesting, an underground bus station underneath the building. It's linked to 2 metro stations and 2 train stations. More recently, we have that one. It's a green building built over an highway and had 1.3 kilometers to the indoor pedestrian network in red on that slide. I mentioned before that successful underground spaces should be well planned, but well regulated and well managed, but it's a little bit more than that. You have also to have art and culture inside underground space. We start with the distinctive architecture of our subway station, because they are all different. We gave the contract of architecture to a different architecture office, so we don't have the same station in our network. And we had a policy of 1 person for artwork, so architect, planner, and engineers had to work together with the artist to integrate artworks with that 1 person of the construction budget. And it gave also the example to the private sector to improve the indoor spaces of their own building by example having atrium artworks, so letting sunlight come inside. I will conclude my presentation with 4 findings and some challenges that city have to face if they want to develop this on a sustainable way the underground for the coming generations. Because constructing the underground is not only an engineering problem, a crucial step toward a better planning of that space should be the its integration in the local economy and the environmental context. You know that better than me. The first finding is the growth of the world population and the worldwide urbanization. The underground space depends more and more. That future depends more and more on the underground space. However, for many reasons, the underground space is not contributing enough as its real value to develop the development of those cities, mainly in Asia. The second finding is that the underground space is not a renewable resource, and unfortunately many countries have a complex ownership legal frame for the underground, with at the end confusing local responsibilities in terms of providing guidelines, maintenance, repairs, budget, and liabilities. Also, aging infrastructures and deferred maintenance are common. What you don't see is often not important, often for politicians. We have also the insufficient coordination and administrative support, because cities are stuck with the problem of silos in their responsibilities, and because public bodies and public agencies are judged and parties in the arbitration. Another finding is that the underground space in cities, especially those dedicated to welcome people, are not seen as an asset that have the economic vitality to city centers, especially if they are not linked to a mass transit system. In many cities, those spaces are not connected together, so they are not attractive, they are badly managed, so they give a bad impression to the underground. The last finding is concerning the underground commercial facilities that are not in phase with the new generation needs and with the new technologies like the online shopping and the Internet of Things. Unfortunately, many cities are not aware enough actually of those global trends that are impacting downtown commercial streets as well as underground shopping malls and centers, even if they are connected to a subway station. I will finish here with a wrapping of some challenges for cities. They should subscribe to long-term policies and coordinated actions as regard the development of the underground space instead of working in silos. State and cities should invest more and more together in a research program to improve the performance and life cycle of their infrastructures. The relationship of cities with developers should be improved because cities can force an investor to build projects, especially in the underground. As I said, city centers are at risk with the online commerce. For inhabited underground, cities and developers must counter together that threat by facilitating a customer experience inside the underground mall, subway and train station, especially for young people who've grown up with their smartphone and tablets. Finally, professionals should be better trained and aware of the challenges to plan, build, manage adequately the underground, including in developed countries. This should draw experience for international organizations just like ACUS, ITA, ITACUS, for providing guidelines and expertise. So again, you are all welcome to come in Hong Kong next year for our next conference. Thank you.
Don't go just yet, Jacques.
No.
There might be one or two questions.
Yeah.
To the audience. Any questions for Jacques?
Yeah. You gave a very interesting insight into the use of the undergrounds for developing an underground city. But what about other opportunities the underground provides, like things like using it as a groundwater resource, as an energy resource?
Yeah.
How do you weigh all these possibilities against each other?
Yeah, as Dermot said, it's not a fits-all. In Montreal, we never had that problem. We have a lot of hydroelectricity. We have space. We can use the land as not too much. We have a sprawling problem, but we are focusing mostly on the shallow layers of the city to use that space for mass transit and the movement of pedestrians. So yes, I know in some countries like in Hong Kong, they are using the underground to move maybe some undesirable activities into the ground. In one of the lecture we had in St. Petersburg last time came from a speaker from Israel. They are moving their cemetery observatory inside some, so it's quite amazing, and yeah, everything's possible.
Okay. And the properties of the subsurface, do they play any role? Because I can imagine that you have different opportunities if you have, for example, a granitic underground, or you have a clay or a peat under your city.
Yeah, we are lucky to have the bed, the rock is not too far from the surface, so our buildings are built with I'm not an engineer, but they're with piles going on the floor, the bedrock floor. So we are lucky, but
so you see it as an engineering problem.
Yeah, not only. I think the geologist also. I'm sorry, but it's quite new for me. It's very good to come here because I just realized that geologists and geosurveys have a important role in the underground.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow! So that's why we should continue our discussion.
It's never too late to learn. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to the next speaker.